Yes, I am.
Are you ready to get started, Nalini?
Yes, all set.
Very good. Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's webinar on using ChatGPT to power your marketing strategy. I'm Peter Talion, the webinar coordinator and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County, and I'll be your host. Our speaker today is Nalini Goolsarran. More on our speaker in just a moment. We are delighted to have Diana Washington from the Black Chamber of Commerce as one of our sponsors. And I'll turn it over to Diana to make some introductory remarks. Please go ahead, Diana.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and welcome everyone for joining us for what I am sure is going to be a powerful webinar, but a little bit about the Black Chamber. The Chamber is a membership business network serving small businesses in the greater Bridgeport communities by providing advocacy on behalf of our businesses, networking opportunities, educational and informational workshops, free access to contract bids, to MBE certification, and newsletters promoting our grants, loan events, and more. Our group is dedicated to creating a level playing field when it comes to providing opportunities and resources for our small businesses. And carrying on and continuing those opportunities is one of our other co-sponsors, Bridgeport OIC and BizHub 2.0, which has been unlocking the doors for opportunities in the greater Bridgeport and surrounding towns for over 20 years. They play a vital role in the struggle for economic justice and provide free job placement, skills development services, along with ServSafe certification, small business development, and urban farming training. Led by Deborah Cavanis, President and CEO, OIC prepares and empowers adults for today's workforce, the changing economy, and environmental changes. Now, if you would like to contact either one of us, I have provided both of our contact information in the chat section. And with that, I will turn it back over to you. Take care.
Thank you very much, Diana. Before we get started, some brief information on SCORE. SCORE has 230 offices nationwide, and those offices are populated with over 10,000 volunteers nationally. We are a resource partner of the Small Business Administration. In Fairfield County, Connecticut, we have 100 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. We offer 3 primary value-added services to small business owners. First, free one-on-one counseling, face-to-face or telephone or email or video, which can be accessed via the Request Mentor link on our website or via the link on the screen. Educational in-person workshops and live webinars, about 100 a year, similar to what we are doing today. And extensive resources on our website, including a network of subject matter experts at your disposal. Some information about today's event. If you have a question, please use the Q&A facility at the bottom of your screen. We will take questions at the end of Nalini's presentation. And so put your questions there and we will be happy to take them at the end of the session. Our session is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be available at fairfieldcounty.score.org within the next couple of days. Our speaker, Nalini Goolsarran, is the founder of EdgeSpace Marketing, is passionate about transforming business practices and streamlining communications. She has a BS in computer information systems and experience in IT, project management, and communication. Before becoming an entrepreneur, She was an associate COO for a division of a global financial institution. She believes in the strength of her community. She regularly volunteers for organizations and causes that empower the next generation. It's our pleasure to turn it over to Nalini. Nalini, please go right ahead.
Thanks, Peter. Thank you, Diana. Nice to meet everyone. As Peter mentioned, today we're going to talk about all things ChatGPT. Well, not all things, but how you can use ChatGPT to make your life easier and more effective as you tackle your digital marketing. Today, we're going to cover what ChatGPT is and how it works. We're going to emphasize the difference between marketing and advertising. If you've ever been to any one of my classes, it's something that I emphasize every single class because it's very important for how you target your messaging. We're going to talk also about how AI supports your voice but doesn't replace it, and why your target audience drives everything. It is the core of how you use ChatGPT effectively. We're going to show you examples of how to use it and how to prompt it. I'm going to give you some prompting techniques and some examples. So this way you can walk away with some tools and hopefully you can start to use it a little bit more effectively. The reality is that ChatGPT is here to stay. Generative AI is the core of how many things are functioning these days, whether you get a robocall or you go to a website. There is an AI, generative AI running in the background, making a lot of those things work. And we as small business owners have to find a way to streamline, stay current, and save costs. And ChatGPT is a great way to do that. When I first started my business, I was doing all the copywriting myself. I then hired a copywriter who I was paying to write copy for all of our clients as well as our marketing efforts. And then ChatGPT came on the scenes and my copywriter got busy and I realized I can pay ChatGPT to help me do this work. And all of our clients love that we use it. We teach our clients regularly how to make it more effective for themselves. And the best part about it is once you train ChatGPT, it becomes repeatable. So what ChatGPT is, if you're not familiar with it, and ChatGPT is just one example. There is Claude, there's Perplexity, there's so many different AI tools. ChatGPT is just the most popular that everybody knows about, and it's the one I'm using for the example today. But if you have a favorite AI tool, use it. In fact, use them all. Like they all have their strengths and weaknesses, but the premise of how you prompt them is kind of the same. So we'll go through it in a bit. The tools are not yet advanced, so we have to work with them. For those of you who have used computers for more than 20 years, if you remember when Google first came on the scene, before we had SEO, we had to figure out how to write our prompts so that Google could give us the results that we wanted. We also had Ask Jeeves, Ask.com, Bing, Yahoo. We were trying to go in all the different search engines to find our information, and how you prompted the search engine was how you got the results. And it's the same thing with generative AI. It is now in its infancy when you really think about it. And so in 5 years, we're going to find that we don't need to prompt it. It's going to know already, just the way Google does. So we're just trying to work within the tools as they evolve. So ChatGPT, and it's an advanced learning model. Advanced learning model. You may also hear it referred to as an LLM. Those are common acronyms that go with it, language learning model. It is it trained on a massive amount of data. It now has access to the internet, so it has current data. When it first came on the scene, it had outdated data from the time it was loaded, and now it continues to learn, and it is learning your patterns. It is learning who you are, who your voice is. In my case, it's kind of gotten confused because I have multiple voices because each one of my clients has their own voice within my ChatGPT. And as we go through this, you will realize you are going to need different voices for your different target audience. As we get into it, I'm going to explain that, but the reality is each business has anywhere from 4 to 10 different target audiences as you niche down, and we'll get into that. But once you start using ChatGPT, the reality is you have to guide it. You cannot just give it a basic statement and say, give me this response. It will give that to you, but will it be effective? Will it be unique to your voice? Will it stand out from your competition? And will it actually create compelling, engaging content that your target audience will respond to? It is an AI tool trained on a wide range of text. It generates text based on your input, but it doesn't know your business. It doesn't know you. It doesn't know your goals. It does not know your target audience, meaning it's going to give you generic information if you give it a generic question. And it is not a replacement for you, your voice, your brand. It is a tool to enhance your voice and your brand. And once you learn how to prompt it in a way that it can build engaging content, for those of you who may not enjoy using it today, you may enjoy using it in the future, and you'll find it to be much more effective. I will give you one tip, and I will tell you this entire presentation as an example was generated by ChatGPT aside for 1 or 2 slides. I kept it that way for 2 reasons: to show you how, by prompting it correctly, it could build the entire slide deck. I mean, I still vetted it. I still checked for branding, checked for accuracy, checked for the right tone of voice for what I wanted to say. But if you, one of the giveaways for ChatGPT is if you look at the block of text on the left side of the screen, there's a dash in it. That is a clear giveaway for ChatGPT. When I edit my content that I get from ChatGPT, I always take it out. I've deliberately left it in this presentation to show you guys that I did generate it from ChatGPT, to show you how effective it can be when it's prompted correctly. At the end of the day, as a small business owner, you have 3 marketing goals: to increase your brand visibility and awareness, to drive customer engagement, and to boost conversion rate and sales. The reality is as you look at your marketing funnel, these are 3 different steps in the process, and your customers may be at different points in the marketing funnel. Some of them are just getting to know you as you build your targeted strategy. Others know you, but now you're trying to build digital rapport with them. You're trying to foster meaningful connection so you can drive that engagement, which will eventually lead to conversion rate and sales. The reality is that digital marketing is a very slow process. It is not something that you can run an ad today and expect immediate, you will get a spike in sales if it's done well, but will it be sustainable? The idea for digital marketing to be sustainable is long-term consistent growth, long-term consistent marketing that's targeted correctly. When we do social media marketing, the average is anywhere from 5 to 6 months of consistent posting with a targeted messaging to a targeted audience and the way you're doing your engagement. Same with your website and your SEO. People may be coming to your website, but it could take a few months before they come back a few times before they actually make a sale or make an appointment with you. It is the nature of how consumers move on the internet. It's something called readiness to buy. Not all of them are ready to buy. They're still in the research phase. You just have to target them where they are, excuse me. At the end of the day, I will say this time and time again, marketing is not advertising. Advertising is strictly promotional. Whenever you have a call to action is something like call me, make an appointment, buy something, check out our deals. As long as you're asking them to do something, you have added a call to action and it now becomes advertising. The reason this is important is because a lot of times people misuse social media and sometimes their website with too many call to actions, and they've now slipped into the advertising space, but their messaging isn't targeted correctly. This is an example of a splash that I could post on social media, and all I've listed is the name of my service, SEO for small business. That's advertising. I haven't done anything to engage the user. I haven't put anything here that's meaningful or tangible to them other than a service that I've offered. When you're in a service-based business, the more information you can give people to build rapport, the better it is. In my business, a lot of my target audiences are DIYers. Many of you are on this webinar right now because you are DIYers. You can figure it out for yourself. You're bootstrapped. You don't have time or money to be spending on advanced agencies to do this work. You can do it yourself. Something like this, if you're tech enabled, will resonate with you. I've identified a need and I've determined how best to meet their needs. So this example I'm saying is how to update the title and meta description on your WordPress website, and it's got an SEO graphic in it. Now, those of you who are familiar with SEO will understand that this is something meaningful and tangible you can do to help improve your SEO. Rather than just telling you what service I have, which is advertising, I am now telling you how to use that service for your own improvement of your marketing. I've now spoken to your pain point and I'm giving you a solution to the problem. That's marketing. AI can help you with both of these, but your goal must be clear. If you don't tell it as advertising, it may give you marketing, or it might give you vice versa. It all depends on how your language model has been trained based on the type of inputs you're giving it. But you have to give it a clear goal so it knows what it has to do, and I'll dig into that in a moment. When you're appealing to your target audience, many of you have done this exercise as you've built your business plans. You might have done it in business planning classes. You might be doing it as part of your social media effort. But the reality is if you're trying to appeal to everyone, you are connecting with no one, because it can't be broad strokes all the time. Right now, I can say I'm a digital marketing agency. That's very broad. I do have a niche. I do have people that I specifically service, small businesses, nonprofits, entrepreneurs. But if you think about it, small businesses have different needs than nonprofits. So that's 2 target audiences. But then I can take it a step further. Within the small business audience, I have 2 segments, the ones that are tech savvy and the ones that are not tech savvy. The tech savvy ones, you guys are on my webinars and you're looking for ways to help yourself and do it yourself. So I give you information and tools so that you could do it yourself. The non-tech savvy ones may still be on these webinars thinking, I can figure this out. And they may take tools away that they can use, but they may also be the ones that are more ready to buy and call me more immediately for me to offer their services. By understanding those 2 key differences, I can now target those 2 audiences separately. So I've now given you 3 audiences for my small business, excuse me. But then you have nonprofits, which also have the same 2 segments, and even startups have the same 2 segments. And again, all 6 of those target audience have special unique needs, wants, and desires that I can speak to. The problem that small businesses run into is they try to operate as a big brand. They'll say things like Apple and Pepsi does it a certain way. The reality is Apple and Pepsi have a brand history and a legacy that you already know what they are. You already have loyalty to them. So they could say whatever and do whatever without targeting us because they know they have a loyal target base. Us as small business owners, we don't have that luxury yet. There's going to be a point when you do build enough that you have a brand reputation that follows you, so you don't necessarily have to be so niche in your targeting. But I would like to say that all small businesses need to continue to niche and continue to target because there's always room for growth. Consumers are no longer influenced by brand campaigns, meaning things like when we put testimonials on our website that are just plain text that we've either collected from, reviews that we've had. If you are in a business that's HIPAA compliant, it does need to be anonymized. It makes it harder for users to believe the legitimacy of those reviews. The reality is we can make them up. We don't, but we can, right? But if you're using things like Google reviews or think of TripAdvisor, people are now going to the internet looking for strangers to validate the brand. So it's more important than ever that we speak to them where they are, that we build that credibility, and we speak to them like human beings, not like robots, which is what the AI will do if you don't give it that direction. Small businesses' reputation and credibility is increasingly important. I just mentioned that and it doesn't change. Many of you have been in the business for a long time and you know this. One bad experience could influence other potential folks coming to your business, or you just know that's a bad client and that's okay. They weren't your target audience. We're now going to refocus and build good relationships and credibility with the people who are targeted. It is the nature of the small business world. But how do you find your target audience? Many of you may have seen this before. I'm going to break it down a little bit in case you haven't, and just giving you some idea of how you use it. Your target audience is broken into several factors: demographic details, behavioral traits, psychographic details, and geographic details. So the demographic information includes age range, gender, nationality, ethnicity, occupation, income, and family size. Now, some people look at this list and disagree with half of it a lot of the times. And I can understand why, because the question could be, well, why does gender matter when I'm dealing with the demographic details? The reality is that sometimes, depending on your product, women may resonate with a certain message, men may resonate for a certain message. Age matters. As we look at as we look at the generation differences, you have the folks that are considered boomers. They have one value set. Gen X has a different value set. Millennials, Gen Y, Gen Zers. I don't even know what the next generation is, Gen Alpha, I believe, right? They all have different values and needs. My generation is technically the millennial generation. We grew up without technology, but we are tech enabled. The older generations above us, they have become tech enabled, and they may have a certain level of savvy that generations younger than them don't. I'm actually often surprised at Gen Zers, how less tech enabled they are, given that they grew up with technology. They are only familiar with how to use certain things. They are not as exploratory as the millennial generation or even the Gen Xers, because we grew up in a time where technology has been evolving. So we're kind of used to constantly exploring new tools and technology. It's funny when you talk to a Gen Zer and you tell her, like, Google didn't exist when we were children. They don't understand that. Netflix didn't exist when we were children, right? So it definitely matters. If you understand these demographic details, you can then target your messaging accordingly. Behavioral traits. This is also very important. Brand loyalty, benefits sought. user status, usage rates, the occasion, and readiness to buy. So I've mentioned readiness to buy earlier. Brand loyalty benefits sought are very important because if you understand what your customer is looking for, what are you solving for, right? This is that pain point. That's the benefit. You're thinking of it as a pain point. They're looking at it as a benefit. So an example for a plumber is the pain point is my sink is clogged. The benefit they're looking for is I want this solved efficiently and cost effective, and I don't want to have this problem again, right? And depending on your target audience, they may want to be able to understand what you're doing. Maybe they want transparency in the communication. Others are the type of, you know what, I don't care. Solve my problem. Here's the money. Fix it. And I want it fixed today, right? There's going to be different mindsets. So if you know that and you can subset that, you can then now target two different audiences simultaneously there. User status and usage rate. This pertains to how they use technology. Are they active on social media? Meaning, is your target audience in the baby boomer generation, depending on the services you offer? Do you work with older adults? And that's the case, they're most likely probably on Facebook versus Instagram versus LinkedIn. That's where user status and usage rate comes in, because if you know where they are, you can reach them where they are, and that's how. Maybe they're the type that you need to send things in the mail, right? Not everything is digital. Some things still operate in the analog world. So if you understand that, you can target your messaging. Geography matters, particularly if you're in maybe outerwear and you're selling winter coats. Winter coats are not relevant this time of year where we are, but there are parts of the world where they still need winter coats at this time of year, maybe all year round, right? So if you understand where your customer is or are, excuse me, you can then target them accordingly. Maybe it's people going on vacation and those kind of things. This goes back to behavioral traits with occasion. Is there a special occasion or a specific type of activity? A lot of people are going on summer vacations now. So those are kind of relevant topics. And then psychographic information. This is things like their lifestyle, their personality, their values, and their interests. Now, you'll notice a lot of these topics do overlap. It's just a different way of categorizing it, and you will find yourself repeating as you go through it. And you may ask me, why do I need to do all of this? Some of this seem irrelevant. If you have this information, you can then submit a prompt like this to ChatGPT. You have an age range, maybe a professional role or lifestyle based in a place, guided by such values that face ongoing challenges related to blank. They actively seek blank solution or outcome that aligns with their goal and lifestyle. Now, you may not need to give ChatGPT the goal and lifestyle, because when you've given them the age range, the professional role or life stage, the location, their values, it can kind of discern that. It has a lot of details, right? In its giant database of information. So it knows that if you're saying the age range is 35 to 45, it already knows, generally speaking, how 35 to 45-year-olds operate. And then you'll also see at the end I've added, you'll most often find them engaging with content and brands through blank: email, Facebook, LinkedIn, the mail, right? It's important for ChatGPT to know this. Now, this is a paragraph that you would insert at the end of, or maybe as part of your prompting, saying, please help me write a newsletter for name of your business. Here's the topic I want to cover. Details of my target audience includes, and it should be something along the lines of this paragraph. I tell people, when you go to ChatGPT, I expect to see you writing at least 4 lines of instructions to ChatGPT. It should not be a singular sentence. If it's a singular sentence, then you haven't prompted it correctly, meaning you haven't given any guidance. Now, again, you're going to get an answer. Will you get an effective answer? So let's talk about how to use your target audience profile. I kind of gave you a broad example just now. You as a business should have multiple audiences. As I covered at the beginning of the course, the reality is I have three main target audiences: small businesses, nonprofits, entrepreneurs. But you'll notice I broke that down even further and I came up with 6. And if I sat with it, I can probably come up with 12, because each one of those break down even further in terms of age groups, lifestyles, needs, values, things like that. The more specific your audience, the stronger your message. Now, where this gets tricky is knowing how and when to use it, but this is just a starting point to help you target your messaging. ChatGPT needs direction. It needs to know age, lifestyle, pain points, and interests. The more information you can give it in this space, the more targeted your messaging will be and the more engaging it will be. AI can help you refine your audience, but you must start it off. You can actually go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm trying to build my target audience profile for my business. Can you help me? And it'll start asking you prompting questions. So you don't have to do it by yourself. You could also ask it to give you an example, or who does it think your target audience is? What I will say is that the AI is not always right. You should use your own logic and critical thinking around, does this make sense for my business? So don't just take it at face value. You should also be able to use AI to help you think about, this is my target audience, where can I reach them? You don't have to know all these answers yourself. The AI can help you determine that information. So here's some prompting do's and don'ts to help you navigate this space. Give it a role and a context. Act like for example, you can tell it, act like a content strategist, act like a psychologist if you want it to help you with target audience profiling, act as an SEO expert if you're looking for SEO for your website. I like to test ChatGPT. Before I ask it to act like anything, I tend to ask it, what do you know about X, Y, and Z? Because what I want to know is, before you give me information, are you an expert in the space? I think about it like when I'm looking for a specialist in the medical field. I want to know if that doctor is qualified in whatever specific issue I'm having. I treat ChatGPT similarly. I test it. What do you know about X, Y, and Z? And when I'm satisfied that it knows information on it, then I will have it act like a content strategist. An example of this is, I had a client that wanted to put out messaging around tariffs because they are not impacted by the tariffs, but they wanted me to write something compelling that we could post on social, send in a newsletter. So my first question to ChatGPT was, what do you know about the current tariff situation? This was about 2 months ago when things were really crazy. And I vetted it and I read through what it knew, and I'm like, okay, it's up to date and it's current on the current situation because it's relevant. Timing is relevant. From there, I said, okay, acting as a content strategist, I want you to help me write this message. And I'm going to give you a little secret here. 2 things you're going to want to always tell ChatGPT: build rapport, RAPPORT. So build rapport with your target audience, and add context, CONTEXT, context. It will give it more than just say, hey, call me. It will actually give you messaging that will resonate with your target audience. Those are 2 little secrets. If you do that with every marketing thing you put into ChatGPT, in addition to your target audience profiling, you'll start to see the efficacy of your messaging. Include your goal. Once you've told it the role and the context, tell it what you want. You want to educate, sell, inform, connect. When I created this presentation, I went to ChatGPT and said, I am teaching a webinar on how to use ChatGPT effectively for small businesses. Small businesses are struggling with this, and this. These are the type of things I want to cover. Like I told it, these are the kind of the topics at the top of my head. What else do you think are missing? What other information do you think I should include? I let it work with me. I think of it as like a partner in this space. I don't let it do all the work by itself. I do my part to try to give it the information and get information out of it. Add tone, format, and length. I told it the class was going to be 45 minutes of instruction, 15 minutes of Q&A. I gave it the format that it was a webinar. I also told it that I wanted it to be relatable and easy to understand for small business owners who may or may not be that savvy, right? I gave it all of that information in order to get a presentation that would resonate with you. But what you want to be careful is, don't be vague. This is that 1 sentence question that you might put in, or statement, help me. Like I could have gone, help me write a presentation for my class. And I gave it the name of the class. And it may not, the first version probably wouldn't have been effective. I'd probably have to do a lot of massaging and trying to get it right, or just end up building it myself in the end. And do not assume that it knows your brand and values. And it definitely does not know your target audience. It will make some assumptions. But the other thing you want to always tell the AI, whichever one it is don't make assumptions, always be accurate, because there's something called AI hallucinations. It just makes up stuff. It definitely, if you don't ask it to be accurate. And then sometimes when I have it doing research, like I have a law firm as a client, when it generates content, the second thing I have it do after the content is fact check this. Tell me your sources so I can validate for myself that it didn't make up things. And now we are, falsely putting out information that is incorrect. So you always want to make sure it's accurate when you're doing it, and remind it regularly to be accurate, because it tends to forget that instruction and starts making up things and making assumptions. So here are some ways that you can use it. ChatGPT can be used for email in ways such as subject line variations for A/B testing. So sometimes I'll go to ChatGPT and say, I need a subject line for my newsletter. Here are the topics we're covering. This is the organization it's coming from. This is who we're trying to reach. Give me 10 options for engaging newsletter headings. And sometimes I like them and sometimes I don't. And I say, give me more, or I give it feedback on why I don't like those. If you do not like what you get from ChatGPT, tell it why. If you explain, think of it as a teenager, explain to it why you don't like it, what you want improved, what type of changes you want to see, and then work with it. Sometimes it gets it right, sometimes it doesn't. What I tend to do is after I get the content from ChatGPT, and sometimes it's just not in the line of what I'm looking for, and I just do it myself, I then go back to ChatGPT and say, here is my final results for your records. Because what you want to do is educate the language learning model, right? It's always learning. So if you give it your style and saying, this is really what I wanted in the end, it will learn that so that it can give you something closer in line with that the next time you ask it to do something. When you're done with email, whether it's writing things that nurture re-engagement campaigns, promotional product launches, you can then also use it for social media. Captions that match tone per platform. Instagram is different than LinkedIn, which is different than TikTok in terms of audience variations and how they use the tools. Content repurposing. You can take your blog and have it turn it into posts for social media, carousel tags, video scripts. There's any number of ways. You could even go to ChatGPT and say, I have this blog. How can I use it for my social media marketing for my business? But you're going to say the name of your business, what you do, who your target audience is, so that I could give you a more targeted approach for how to reuse that blog. And you could also say, I have these 3 target audiences, help me repurpose it accordingly. Get deep with it. Don't just take it at face value. You could even do seasonal content ideas and caption hooks. We're heading into summer. Is there something meaningful for this time of year? If you remember your target audience profiling, occasion, that's time of year. Seasonality, time of year. So holidays, technically for those of you who have e-commerce businesses, from September, you should be going to ChatGPT to help you build your marketing plan leading into Christmas. If you're doing Christmas sales or Hanukkah sales or whichever year-end sales you need, start your work with ChatGPT in September, because it's a lead up to it. Website copy. You want to make sure that you have your website copy in a way that engages your customer. Here's a little quick tip, not to do with this webinar, but more so just for your general marketing. Your services, the names of your services should not be on your homepage. Your homepage is a place to build rapport with your target audience, and ChatGPT can help you do that. So you want it to be SEO friendly. It can help you with FAQs. It can help you with product descriptions or service blurbs, features versus benefits. There's different ways that you can use it to help you make sure that your website is engaging, resonates, and can be found on Google. And then you can help you write long format content, blogs, blog posts, expanded bullet points into full paragraphs. Technically, this particular slide, when I first got it from ChatGPT for this webinar, it was all these giant paragraphs. And I'm like, I'm not putting paragraphs on my slide. I need you to turn these into bullets. And it did. It's, we used to sit here and just manually do it. Now we could use it for speed and efficiency. I still read it through. I still double checked it and corrected it in places where it just kind of made either incorrect statements or it just wasn't clear enough. So here's some examples to help you use it very effectively. So suppose this is an example for a local bakery. Here is a prompt that is not effective. Write me a post about fresh bread available this weekend. Now, you as a business owner may say, this is pretty good. I'm talking about fresh bread and it's available this weekend, but it's missing all the key details, tone, context, all those kind of things. And this is a real prompt. I put it into ChatGPT and this is what it gave me. We have fresh bread. Come by the shop. It did not build rapport. It has a call to action right away. There's nothing about it to help it resonate. And especially if this is for social media, the more you write in the caption, meaning the text, the more likely your content is to be discovered by your target audience. Google, social media, all of it depends on the number of words and variances of words that you use. We often try to be very short and glib, but the reality is that these AI tools need more words to figure out who your target audience is to match you. So here's a better prompt. And remember I told you your prompt should be about 4 lines long? This one's about 4 lines long. Write an Instagram caption in a warm, inviting tone. So I've told it it's for Instagram. I've told it that I want it in a warm, inviting tone. for a small town bakery announcing its weekend sourdough. So we're talking about that we are a small town bakery. We're announcing something. It is for the weekend sourdough batch, not just fresh bread. So we're being specific. And then speak to busy professionals and parents who appreciate local food made with care. This is that target audience demographic that we're talking about. Busy professionals and parents are, if you think about what's the pain point we're solving for, they are busy. They don't want to bake bread themselves. They don't have time to bake bread themselves, but they want local food that are maybe they want organic, maybe they want to just support local businesses, again, values and all those kind of things. And then you get a caption that looks like this. This weekend sourdough is made fresh with organic stone ground flour and a 24-hour rise. Crispy on the outside, soft on the inside, swing by before noon, it goes fast. Now, this is the raw prompt that came from ChatGPT. First things I'm going to say is take out the dashes, right? But if you notice the output, when you put this into social media now, the algorithm in social media is going to go, okay, so this is for people who like sourdough bread because they know people are scrolling, and whether they're looking at recipes or sandwiches or people using sourdough bread, or maybe they just know that because you like certain types of thing on Instagram, you also like sourdough bread. They know this about us. They have so much information on us. They also know that these type of people, especially if this is where as a business owner you would confirm, is it made with organic stone ground flour? Maybe it's not, right? So you take the raw prompt and you double check it for facts, but you also customize it as needed. But in this case, you're going to reach more people because the algorithm can match words like organic. People like organic. There's people that's into stone ground flour. We send it to them. There's people who care about the texture of the bread. Those people will see it. And of course, there's a timing there. So you've created a sense of urgency rather than just come by the shop. You're letting people know, don't miss out. You're going to not get any bread if you don't get here before noon. Here's another example for a different type. This one is for a website, and this is for a home organizer. And for those of you not familiar with the hero text, the hero text is the big text at the top of the screen when you first go into a website. It's also known as the banner text, depending on your familiarity with websites. So write a homepage headline for a professional organizer. Again, this seems complete. We're talking about it's a homepage, it's a headline, it's a professional organizer. And Google and ChatGPT came back with, we help you get organized. There's nothing wrong with it, but is it, again, it's targeting no one specific and it's kind of generic. If we take it a step further, write a homepage hero line and a subheading, because you want a subheading, for a home organization business targeting overwhelmed moms with full-time jobs. The tone should be reassuring and capable. Again, we're talking about overwhelmed moms who are very busy and they want to be reassured and they want to know that you are capable of doing it, right? The results ChatGPT came back with was clear the clutter, reclaim your calm, speaking to their values of I got clutter and it's stressing me out. And there's a lot of science around and psychographic data around the fact that folks that have cluttered homes often feel stressed out and overwhelmed. So this is that psychographic data, then physiographic data that ChatGPT is bringing in. The subheading is professional organizing for busy moms who need breathing room, not another to-do list. Because a lot of times you just get tools that say, here's how you could do it yourself. These people want help. Now, depending on your business, this is an example where it might be too niche down for the homepage. Maybe they don't only want to target busy moms. This is where you would revise the prompt to say busy moms, working professionals. You would give it the full list of all the different types of people you're targeting so that the messaging is not so specific to one target audience. Maybe this particular subheading can get repurposed into a social media caption that's targeting busy moms, or a blog targeting busy mom, maybe a page targeting busy moms. But it depends. It's your business. You know who you want to reach. But your homepage, you do want broad strokes. This is an example of a potential home organizer that their target audience is only busy moms, because that's a niche all in its own. So here's another example as an email for a fitness coach launching a program. So it could say, write an email promoting a fitness program. The output is, join my new program and get in shape fast. Nothing wrong with it, but again, very generic. It's a new program and you can get in shape. Now, I don't know about you, but that doesn't resonate with me. Yeah, I know I can join your program and I can get in shape fast, but how does that make you any different than your competition? But if you write it in a motivating, down-to-earth email intro from a fitness coach launching a 6-week program for women over 40 who are restarting their fitness journey after a long break. Now, there is a lot of specificity in this that should resonate with a very niche target audience that are looking for this, right? You also have to think about what are your clients looking for. Most people who are in the business that service, middle-aged to older women know that when you're hitting your 40s, you have a harder time losing weight, and this is something that's targeted for them. You want it to be down to earth because you don't want to sound like a late night infomercial, and you also don't want to sound intimidating. It's specific that it's 6 weeks because people are busy and some people don't want long-term commitments, and some people want to know it is a longer than just a singular session commitment. Specificity helps. Here's the results. If your workout routine has taken a backseat to everything else lately, you're not alone. My 6-week Restart Strong program is built for women ready to reconnect with their strength, flexibility, and confidence on their own terms. This has so much rapport in it for people that are in the target audience group, women over 40 who are restarting their fitness journey after a long break. Notice the difference between the two. You want to be very mindful. Maybe the Join My New Program and Get in Shape Fast is your target audience, but the more you give it, the more detailed the results, and the better you'll be able to connect with your target audience. So here are some best practices. Always define your target audience. Be clear about tone, intent, and format. So intent being where you want to use it, how you want to use it. Use AI for speed, not final drafts. You're always going to want to edit, revise, and make sure that the tone is the way you want it, the messaging is the way you want it. After a while, it may come out with final drafts, but even after I've been using ChatGPT for 2 years now, we're still editing content we get from it because sometimes it just goes off the rails and we have to bring it back. Always avoid questions in your marketing copy. If you've been to any one of my classes before, I say this repeatedly. Questions in your marketing, whether it's your website, your social media, your email, questions is lazy marketing and it reads like a late night infomercial. Are you having a hard time getting in touch with your clients? Do you need to use ChatGPT better? That's the tone it comes across with. Google knows this, especially from an SEO perspective. The algorithm, social media knows this. So what you want to do is not fall into those pitfalls. Get a little bit more creative. If you see ChatGPT come back with questions in the copy, go back to it and say, write this again, no questions. Because again, you want to write it in an active tone rather than saying, are you struggling with your social media marketing? You could say things like, by using these strategies, you can improve your social media marketing effectively. That's an example of just taking the question and turning it into an active, positive, engaging statement. Refine and review everything before you publish. Always make sure that it makes sense, that it is unique to you if you want it to be unique, that it builds rapport, that it isn't just a sales tactic. The most important thing is being able to connect with your target audience or audiences. Start small, test one workflow at a time, and once you get good at it, add the next one. Sometimes it gets overwhelming. You're trying to do everything at once. Sometimes I'll ask ChatGPT for a strategy with a blog. It gives me 17 different things. And I'm like, let's start with number one. Let's build out number one. When I'm good with number one, then I go back to the list it gave me and say, okay, let's work on number two. And we go from there. Build a library of effective prompts. I have a whole sheet of different prompts. This is a prompt for my different clients. This one is for social media for this client. This one is for emails for that client. And I'm constantly refining them as I learn things, as I figured out things with ChatGPT. Give it examples. If you like the way something is written, say, I really like this tone and style, include this. If you have it writing things over and over, tell it vary the output so that it's not the same every time or it doesn't sound so formulaic. You do want it to sound kind of unique every time, even though it's technically the same. And as you train ChatGPT over time, copy and paste your previous work as examples from other individuals that you may like, their tone, their style, your competition. You could definitely use it to analyze your competition. But the more you use ChatGPT, the more you train it with these longer defined prompts, the more successful you're going to be in that space. And so now we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you for the outstanding presentation, Nalini.
Thank you.
Very, very dynamic. Your contact information is on the closing chart there. I see that. So what we're going to do, folks, is if you have a question, please put it into the Q&A section at the bottom of the website, and we'll take one after the other. Let me just get started with a couple that have come in, Nalini. It's ChatGPT has a free account access and paid access. Could you spend a couple minutes talking to our audience about the difference between the free version of ChatGPT and the paid versions, and when would a small business person want to use the paid versus the free version?
So I've used both, and I can tell you firsthand the difference between the free and the paid version. Even so, the new version of ChatGPT is called GPT 4.0, and free folks now have access to it. If you can afford $20 a month, pay for it right now. It is absolutely worth it. I'll tell you why. We've tested both. We used the free version for a long time, and what I realized is that using the free version, even with GPT-4, compared to using the exact same prompts in the paid version, I did a side-by-side test to see the output. And what I recognized was the paid version is just significantly better in the type of output it gives you. You have less revisions to do. It doesn't go off the rails, meaning it forgets the instructions. Like, perfect example is using the free version. I have a client that we write long format social media posts. The instructions say keep it under 2,000 words. And excuse me, 2,000 characters. And it kept coming back to like 2,500, 3,000. I'm like, why are you doing that? And I was arguing with it because I kept trying to get it to get back on track and it wouldn't. I went to the paid version, put in the same thing, and it stayed on track more often than not. What I will say is when you are chatting with ChatGPT in a chat for a while, every 10 prompts or so, reiterate your instructions because it does tend to forget what you told it previously. So just remind it or check in with it. Say like, hey, can you just checking in, what are the instructions, just to make sure it's still following the guidelines. But the paid version is significantly better. I describe it as you work for a company and you have a intern and you have a seasoned professional. That is how ChatGPT to me functions, free versus paid, even the free GPT 4.0. If you can afford $20 a month, absolutely worth it. We paid for it about a year ago and I've never looked back. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Very, very helpful. Can you talk to the audience about photos, making photos and images, and how ChatGPT works and can help the small business person on that part of their marketing?
So when it comes to photos, I'm laughing because ChatGPT and photos is a little tricky. Sometimes it'll frustrate you. It doesn't quite do it the way you want it to do it. So what I will say is things like photos when it comes to, and ChatGPT may not be the right tool. Like there's, for when it comes to photos and videos, there are different AI tools that do a better job. Like sometimes we do it in Canva. I have the paid version of Canva and there's an, one of the apps you can add that you can have it generate and fix a photo or create something for you. Like, but again, the more information and details you give it, the more likely you are to get the outcome. I actually, because we pay for Adobe stock, I use the Adobe Firefly app or extension to try to do the AI generated photos when I'm just not finding what I'm looking for. It's hit or miss. I will say when it comes to having people in your photos, if they're looking directly at the camera, sometimes their face looks a little funny around the eye area. So that's usually a giveaway. I will say in the last 6 months, there's been a significant improvement on that. So when it comes to photo and video, you have to find the right tool. I don't think ChatGPT is the right one for that, but I've heard people have a lot of success. I will admit I've focused more on the writing side of it with ChatGPT. We're only now getting into video and photo creation using AI tools. So in the next year, I'm hoping to get better at it. But I would say ask ChatGPT. That's what I did. I needed to create a video for a client and I went to ChatGPT to say, what are some of the best tools for creating videos for free? Because we didn't want to pay for another license just yet. And we played with a bunch. Perplexity, Claude AI might be better. So I would say test it. It's definitely going to take some time to find your sweet spot of tools.
Thank you. You mentioned that ChatGPT often puts in dashes and to take them out. Are there other things that ChatGPT uses regularly that you would
Yes.
recommend that the audience take out to make it sound a little less ChatGPT written?
Yeah, there's a few phrases I can pick out right away that ChatGPT wrote it. Say goodbye to blank and hello to blank. That is such a repeatable phrase it uses almost every time. I see ads now with it. Commercials are having it. I'm like, oh no, they didn't change it. The other one is whether you're this or you're that. I mean, that is a normal way we talk, but there's a way that it does it with that whether it doesn't use it quite right or it overuses it. The other one is discover. We are not Christopher Columbus. We do not need to discover certain things. I have a client that is in the odor absorbing space and it keeps telling me to discover clean air. I'm like, you cannot discover clean air. You can experience clean air. So it's more about using it in context. And as you go through your writing, you'll start to see the repetitive phrases yourself as you start to analyze it, because it does get a little lazy. And you do have to remind it, like on any given day, I have to tell ChatGPT about 17 times not to use the M dashes. And it still uses the M dashes almost immediately. I'll be like, take out the M dashes. It'll rewrite it, and then it'll send another version that has M dashes again. And I'm like, didn't I just say this? They're like, oh yeah, you're right. I forgot to take out the M dash. I'm like, how did you forget? I just told you. So just be prepared for that. It doesn't listen sometimes. I said running joke in my team. Everybody laughs at me because ChatGPT doesn't listen half the time when I tell it not to do things.
Just like people.
Just
What do
like
you
people.
think? What do you think of ChatGPT's deep research? How many DR searches do you get a month, and when should you use it to get the most value?
I actually don't know how many you get a month off the top of my head. I think it tells you in your profile. I will say it does a really good job. I have a nonprofit client, and I love my nonprofit clients, and they all know this. One of the reasons they hire us is because they have no marketing arm. And that means I'm inventing the marketing. And usually it's just the CEO and maybe a handful of support staff. And they just don't have the knowledge and the know-how to give me what I need. And they needed help writing a grant application for something very specific. And I told them I'd take a stab at it. We were testing something. We'd never done it before. And I had ChatGPT do some deep research on the organization. The amount of content I've gotten back about the organization that I never even knew myself, and the way it framed it, the client was blown away. I was blown away. I now have it stored for future use. So I will say, in terms of how many you get a month, depending on how often you need it, definitely worth it. I think it does a really good job depending on, again, if it has the information or if it could find it on the internet, and then go from there. I've only ever had to use it one time for that particular task I was doing. The generic information it gets, or as it researches and searches the web, seems good enough for me. So I think it depends on your personal needs.
Excellent. One of the audience members says that they have hundreds of contacts from their customer base and emails. Could this user put these emails into chat and have them develop a profile of their customers?
Absolutely. I would actually take all of those questions and send it to ChatGPT and say, help me build an FAQ for my website, or help me turn this into marketing content, or ask it, how can I use this effectively after you have it build a target audience profile? But it just remember, it may be incomplete because you're only getting a subset. So this might be one where you say, here's some questions from my my clientele. These are common questions I've been getting. Here's, put in all the emails, but then also say, give me a target audience of my profile, but then also say, research my business and fill in anything missing or any target audience group missing. Or maybe it's done and you say, okay, analyze any gaps. Is there a target audience that I should be targeting based on these type of questions, based on what you know about my business? Have it do the gap analysis, because I'm willing to bet you're going to get one target audience based on those questions, and then you're going to get a different target audience just based on the general information of what your business does.
Excellent. A little bit off the ChatGPT topic, but do you have recommendations on the use of apps that manage multiple social media platforms at once? Do you have a recommendation?
You know what? It's a little tricky because it always depends on your budget. Because the free versions, it's very limited. I actually did this research recently for a client, and the only one that seems useful right now is Buffer, because it still covers multiple channels. I personally use Social Pilot because I'm an agency and I get about 50 accounts that I can connect. So it allows me to manage multiple clients. You as a small business owner probably only have 3 or 4. I think it's really going to depend on your budget, because the good ones are all paid. We used to use Hootsuite in the past because it used to give you 30 posts a month for free. Now it's 5. It still works as long as you know to go in there every week or every couple of days and just schedule your posts. We need to be able to schedule by the month. So that's how we ended up in Social Pilot. So that's actually something worth putting into ChatGPT and asking it to do some comparisons for you. I had ChatGPT, we all are in Connecticut, I think, and you can do the supplier delivery for Eversource, like in terms of comparing the rates. I had to do a rate comparison. Here's the crazy thing. It did it all wrong. It was actually recommending I go with the more expensive one, and I was looking at the real numbers on the Eversource site going, that doesn't match. And then I was questioning it. So what I will say is a grain of salt. You will still need to double check and fact check. And then when I went back to it and said, isn't this one cheaper? It goes, oh yeah, that's the cheaper one. I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me that? Why are you telling me the more expensive one? So this is where, for now, we're still going to have to do some double checking and backing up. But in particular to tools is really budget dependent, honestly.
The next question, hi, I'm a social media marketing intern with startups and scholars where we help local businesses grow through content strategy and brand development. I'm curious, how would you recommend introducing AI tools like ChatGPT to more traditional clients who are hesitant or skeptical about using AI in their marketing?
Send them the link to this webinar. That might be the easiest way, just because this breaks it down in terms of how it can be useful. I think this goes back to target audiences, right? Although you're an intern and you're working for them, your audience you have people that are tech enabled, and then you've just actually separated it out by people who are hesitant and skeptical. And to be honest with you, I'm reading your question in the chat. Take that whole thing and paste it into ChatGPT and see what it says. It might give you some information. And like, I actually went to ChatGPT and said, I want to teach a class on how to do prompt engineering because I know how to do it, but how do I teach it? And that's how I got the framework for the class. So don't be afraid to ask it how to use it. So I would just say definitely take your same question you just put in the question bubble here, put it in ChatGPT and see what it says, because the easiest thing might also be sending them this webinar, because at least it breaks down the uses and they might be more open-minded once they see how you can use it.
Outstanding. So thank you very, very much. I think we've gone through the questions and the notes in the chat. So thank you very much, Nalini, for your dynamic presentation today.
My
The
pleasure.
contact information is on the thank you slide. This webinar is being recorded. It will be available to all of our audience within the next 24 hours. You can also find it on the Fairfield SCORE website, where you will also find many, many other relevant webinars to help you build your business. So in closing, thank you very much, Nalini. Thank you very much, Diana, for sponsoring this event. And that will bring our webinar to a close. Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.